All right, so let's start by creating a component, or two components. Let's do a horizontal carousel, so horizontal carousel.js, and we'll create a card or an image component. You can call it whatever you want. I'll call mine card.js. The horizontal carousel is going to be a class component, not a function. Class. I'm just using shortcuts with my my IDE, my editor. So RFCE, no. RCE, there we go. All right, so we'll take the export away from that. We'll just do an export default down here. So export default horizontal carousel. We need some state, which we'll get into in a second. So rconst. All right, the card's going to be a functional RFE, RFCE. All right, perfect. Export default card. And we're going to need the props in a second. So props. Let's do some stylings for this. We need a viewport style, and we're going to need a card container style. So const styles is equal to object view underscore port, another object, and the card container style, another object. All right, center the viewport. So position, not poison, position is equal to absolute. There we go. The top 50%. The left, same thing. Let's do a width of 350 pixels. Let's do a height of 200 pixels. Let's do a background color of red. And what else do we need to do? We need a transform so we can center it. Let's do a transform of a translate of -50, -50. Width, height, background color. Card container, it's just going to be a flex box. So we'll just do display flex. Flex, we'll do a row, explicit about it. I think the default's a row, but let's just be explicit here. Row, and the width is just going to fit the content. Fit content. All right, let's add that here. So within this div, we'll do a div with a class name. We might need this, might not, but just in case, we'll just do a view port and then apply the style. So styles dot view underscore port, and within the viewport we need the card container. So same thing, div, and I think we do need this one. So class name equals card dash container, and styles equal to styles dot, and that was the card container. All right. Save. Let's create the card style now. Const styles equals card, and position, no positions, just default positioning. Let's do a height and a width. So width of 350 pixels. Let's do a height of 200 pixels. Let's do a background color. I'll just give it blue. And then we'll give a border. So let's say a border of 2 pixels. PX solid black, and let's do a border sizing, I think it's called, and we'll do border box. Is it border box or border none? No, I think it is border box. Border box, there we go. So a border, and we'll do a font size because we want to see which card we're on. 2.5 EM with a color black on blue would not be good, so we'll just do a color white on blue. Color white, we'll save, and for now we'll just say card in here, so card. Let's use that card in the horizontal carousel. So import, we'll just call it a card, /from /card.js. You don't need the JS, I just like to include it, and we'll use one card right here, so card /. So use the carousel then. The carousel will do here, so import. Let's call mine carousel from /components /horizontal JS, and we'll use the carousel here. Let's go to our page and see what we got. And we got a card. Where's the border and the and of course we're not using the style. We need the style here. Styles equal to styles dot, and it was card. Save. All right, so we have one card here. Let's make 4 cards for our video. There we go. 4 cards lined up. Let's give them all different names. So we'll just do card number is equal to say 0. Copy, paste, 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 3 deletes. And let's go 1, 2, 3, and let's use that in the card with the props. So instead of card, we're going to say, not this dot prop, it's not a class, props.card underscore number, save, we go back. All right, so we have 4 cards lined up, index 0 through 3. Let's get some functionality going. Let's code for the buttons. So previous and next buttons, we'll do it right here. Button on click, this one should be what? Handle previous, sure, previous. And this one will be the previous button, copy paste. This one will be the next button, different function. And we'll code one of these buttons first, and then we'll just copy and paste and reverse the logic for the next button. So this dot handle next, and we're going to need to capture the card container as a ref. So ref is equal to some JavaScript. Ref ID, arrow function, this dot, let's call it card container, is equal to the ref ID. So we save, we go back to our page, and we have our previous and next buttons. Currently they do nothing. Let's code for the next. So when we click next, we want this whole card container to transition to the left so that we create the illusion of we're scrolling to the next. So we need the current card we're on. Let's say current card. We'll start at index 0. There we go, current card. So let's code these functions. Which one? Handle next first. Handle next. All right. Arrow, not a question mark. Copy, paste. This should be handle previous. All right. So when we click the next button, we want this counter to increase by 1. So let's capture that first. Let new current card equal this.state.current card plus 1. And we're just going to say this.setState equal to current card. It's just going to be equal to the new current card. There we go. And arrow function. So once we changed which card we're on in the state, let's perform an animation. So what we're going to say is, where is it? This.card container.style.transition duration. Transition duration. Let's do 0.5 seconds right now. And then we'll do style.transform. And we want to do a translate of some math. So backticks, and it's going to be some sort of calculation of a translate. Negative, because I want to move in the left direction, so negative something pixels. Each card is 350 pixels times the this.state.current card. And that will give us this increment right here, and then this increment right here. All right, so we click next. We have the new card. We set the state of the new card. We do our transition. Let's see what happens. Click next. Next, next, next. All right, so that's our viewport right there. We should not be able to do that. Once we hit this last card, we should not be able to transition next. So let's code for that. We're going to say is here. So if we're still below, so if this.state.current card is less than this.card container.children.length minus 1, because we're going by index. So if we're below this guy, this third guy right here, we're allowed to do all of this transitioning. If not, we'll just return. So else, just return. And this should prevent us from being able to scroll past the last card. Save. Perfect. Click next, 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 and next one more time. And next, next, next. Perfect. So we can't scroll past. All right, so we have the next functionality kind of working. What we want to do is when they hit the third card, we want to zap them back to the first card here to create that illusion that we're constantly going around in a carousel. In order to do that, we need to clone the first and last cards. So we're going to do up here, so we're going to say component did mount. And let's do what? First card clone equal this.children. No, card container.children. The first card is obviously the 0 card. And we're going to say clone node, set that to true. Let's clone the last card. So last card clone. And the last card is not 0. The last card is this.card container.children.length minus 1 by index. All right, so we've captured the first and last card. Let's put the first card, the 0, after the 3, and this 3 before the 0. let's go with the first card first. So let's get the 3 before the 0. So we're going to say this dot card container dot, what was it? It was append. Yeah. Which one do we want? With the last card. And we want to append it before the first card. So this dot card container dot children, the first card is 0. Save, go back. And we have, what are we having here? The last card clone. So I should have the 3 right here. It's not append, excuse me. It's insert before. Wrong function. There we go. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and then the repeat of 0, or excuse me, the repeat of 3 right here. Let's append the first card clone to the end right here. So that's the append, guys. So this dot card container dot append, and we want to append the first card clone to the end. Save. So we get 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0. Now let me zoom in. This is the default. Let me show you guys this. So when I turn the overflow to hidden, which is what we're going to do for the final product, watch what happens. All right, so the starting card of our carousel is the 3, which is the last card of the carousel. This is not what we want. We want them to start on card 1. So we need to transition. As soon as we load the carousel, we need it on card 0. So right here, when component mounts, what we're going to do is just going to copy and paste this. There's going to be no transition. Well, let me show you what happens when you do a transition duration for an initial load like this. And we just want to go over one card width, which is just 350. So we save. F5. No, it's not doing it. Anyways, so we don't need a transition duration. We just want to instantly snap to this 0. So when I turn on the hidden, they see the first card we want them to see, which is the 0. And why is that doing that with the borders? Card, border sizing, border box. It's not border sizing, it's box sizing. Anyway, so with that border sizing, box sizing thing, when you add borders to your cards or any sort of element, if you don't have the box sizing set to border box, the borders add on to the width of the element. So even though the element's 350 by 200 plus 2 pixels, it's actually 352 by 202. We don't want that. We want the border baked into the dimensions of the element. So it's box sizing, not border sizing. There we go. Fixed. Perfect. We go back here, turn off the hidden. All right, so we're starting on this card right here, which is the first card and index 1. So we need to change that up here, or the math is going to be off. Current card, we don't start at index 0, we start at index 1. So let's save. Let's click next, 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 next. And we should not be able to scroll. Next. Perfect. So once we're on this card here, we want to snap the image, or the user, from this 0 to that 0 right there. We do that with handle next, right? We can do it here. So we need to know if they're on the last card. So if this .state.current card is equal to the last card, and the last card is of course this .card container .children.length -1 for the index. We know they're on the last card. We want to zap them back to the first card. So we can do a transition of 0.5 for now. I'll show you guys why we don't want that in a second. And the first card is, of course, just the -350. Save. Let me zoom in a bit. All right. Next, 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 next. All right. Now notice this. Well, you probably can't notice it. Let me turn the hidden back on. We're scrolling to the first card, or index 1, second card. We scroll to the number 2. We scroll to the number 3. And we scroll to the number 0, right? Why do we scroll like that? That's because we have a 0.5 duration on this one right here. Let's go instant. So we want to go instantly to the 0. We scroll to the 1. We scroll to the 2. We scroll to the 3. And we should scroll to the 0, right? Why did we instantly transition there? When we said scroll to the next card and then transition to the first card. Well, this takes 0.5 seconds or 500 milliseconds. This executes right away. So these two lines, they're not waiting for this animation to wait. So we need to bake in an artificial timer. So set timeout. We'll do set timeout. And we will wait 502 milliseconds. I think you can wait 500, but just to give some sort of leeway, we'll say 502. So this 502 says wait 500 milliseconds, or 502 milliseconds, and then transition the user back to the first card. So we're allowing this animation to play out. So I save, I go back, go next, transition to 1, transition to 2, transition to 3, and transition to 0. And then we pop back, but you can't see it. Let me turn off the overflow so you guys can see that. All right, transition to 1, transition to 2, 3, transition to 0, and pop back to 0. Now, watch this. I didn't refresh the page. I click next. Next. How come nothing's happening? Well, when we transition back to the 0 card, we need to set the state of the current card as well. So, right here. So once we transition, we will say this.setState, and the current card we're on has to go back to the 1, this initial card right here. So let's save. I need some semicolons, some proper formatting. There we go. Save, go back. We say next. All right, next one more time. Next one more time. All right, so we have the infinite scrolling going on the next. We're just going to copy and paste and kind of reverse the logic so we can get the previous guy going. So let's just copy all of this. And we'll paste it in here. Some proper formatting. All right, so if this .state.current card is greater than 0, so if it's greater than the first card, or not the first, this card, but this card right here. So if we're on this card, we can still transition. Greater than 0, new card is not going to be equal to +1, it is a -1. Current card, perfect, 0.5, which is what we want. We want to translate, this is perfect. Now if we're on the first card, right here. State of current card, that should not be less than, that should be greater than 0. So if they're on the first card, which is the first index, or if they're on the 3 here, we want to pop them back over to the 3 here. So if that's equal to not 1 but 0, we're going to set the same timer, and we're going to translate all the way to the end card. And the end card is simple calculation. It's this dot, what is it? This dot 350. This dot card container dot children. Let's go to this. Let me see this. So card container dot children gives us here. There's no card here. -1 gives us here. -2 gives us here, or -2. We want to go -2 to get to here. So card container dot length -2 pixels, and then we need to set the state to that same index. So this dot card container dot children dot length -2, not 1, not 12, but 2. All right, that looks okay. Let's see if it works. All right, zoom back in, refresh, do next, pop back, next, perfect, previous, perfect, previous, pop, perfect, previous, keep going, pop. All right, let's turn on the overflow and see what we got. All right, next. Pop, back to 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. Perfect, let's go previous. 3, 2, 1, 0, 3, 2, 1, 0, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, so that's the functionality all done. Are we all done here? Yeah, that's about it. Let me finish this guy up and I'll show you guys the end result. So I've gone ahead and just used some images in place of those numbers 0 through 3. What did I do here? Pick some. I use this pick some site to import some photos, some random photos, and then I use the image element here with a style, just a width and height of 100%. And I got the source from the props instead of the number 0s 1 through 3. I just gave them the picsum. For a final product, it looks like this. So we click next. You can do that. You go previous like this. Let me turn off the overflow so you guys can see what's going on. Nope, not that. Man. All right, so we can just go next, previous. And I forgot probably the most important point of this video because it's a ReactJS app. Right now, these are just simple images. But you can absolutely put other information in these cards. They don't just have to be images. Now, if those other images, or excuse me, that other information, those cards are elements, maybe JSX components with their own state, the way ReactJS works is if you put this horizontal carousel into some other ReactJS app and it's the child of a parent, if that parent re-renders, I'm assuming you know what ReactJS is. If it re-renders the parent re-renders, that means the children automatically re-render. We want to prevent this because if there's information in all of these guys and the user is focused on this guy right here, there's no point in re-rendering this image here, this image right here. You can't see them, but they're here. This image here, there's no point in doing that. And so to prevent it from automatically re-rendering all of this information whenever the parent re-renders, we have to memoize the card component. So just go down here. We're just going to say, instead of default horizontal carousel, we're just going to say, what is it? React.memo. There we go. And I'm just going to add in, it's a higher order function. So it converts your functional component into a memoized component. And this guy was called, sorry, not here, in the card right here. So instead of export default card, it's just react.memo. And again, all this does is it prevents ReactJS from rendering every single element that doesn't need to be rendered. It's just a way of creating a more efficient ReactJS app. Anyways, that's a horizontal image carousel. It doesn't have to be images. It can be card data, whatever it is. If you found value in this video, don't forget to give a like. It helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I'm going to be doing future videos on circular or wheel carousels, prism carousels, things like that for ReactJS. Anyway, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.